but who he is and where he lives. Roger Cukierman. He's a philanthropist, he's a banker, he's a businessman. For 36 years, he was involved with the Rothschild Group, including as its CEO. He's a vice president of the World Jewish Congress. But my friends, he is the president of the CRIF, the umbrella organization for the Jewish community of France. And I want to tell you, and I'm hoping you will explain and pass this on to all of our friends who care, the single greatest challenge to stand up for Israel in America is apathy. It's inertia. It is certainly not fear. For the Jewish community of France, fear exists in a far more pervasive way than anything we experience. Our next guest talks about it's almost a siege or war. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you an extraordinary friend of Israel, but a spectacular representative of the Jewish people. Ladies and gentlemen, Roger Cukierman. Actually, before we get into questions, I want to say, frankly, on behalf of everyone in this room, actually on behalf of everyone at this conference, and on behalf of the people of America, we express our condolences to you and to the Jewish community of France, and frankly to the people of France for what you have suffered and endured, and know that we were watching and that our heart bled for you.
Thank you.
I do want to start there, and I'm wondering if we can take a step back and maybe ask a personal question, sort of where you were just that handful of days ago when this attack took place, and the impact it had on not only you, but on your community.
Well, I was having lunch in a restaurant when I received a call informing me of the attack. I went immediately to the place. I stood there for a few hours with the head of the police and with some members of the families involved in the attack. It was a very difficult period because at the beginning we were told that several people were killed. After they said that nobody was killed, and then again we heard the truth. It was a hard time, and as it was not the first time that we had attacks, murderous attacks by people of the jihad, we thought that we are in a war. And I think that the world must be conscious of the fact that the jihadists have started a war in the Middle East. It has been prolonged in Africa, in maybe 10 countries of Africa, and it has reached Europe. And today we know it on our shoulders. We have had kids killed in Toulouse at blank point by Mohamed Merah. We have had other people killed in the Belgian Jewish Museum. We had the grocery kosher store in Paris, and recently in Copenhagen. And in all cases, it was attacks made by Muslims who have been converted to the fanatic jihadism.
Yes, well, I do think that I can say on behalf of everyone here, we know who the attackers were, and we know whom they were attacking. These attacks, there's a lot that has been made of trying to distinguish between it's merely anti-Zionism, it's not anti-Semitism. And I'm wondering if you see that distinction, that this is about Israel, it's not about Jews.
Well, I will mention a few words which were given by the Prime Minister of France, Manuel Valls. He said, and I think that it reflects not only the Jewish attitude, but the thought of everybody who thinks, objectively thinks, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And I was happy that it was said by the Prime Minister of France.
Exactly. Radical Islamic fundamentalism has an ideology, but it also has a methodology and a form of communication. And I'm wondering if you can talk to us a little bit about the pervasiveness on the internet and how you see the role of the internet promulgating these ideas.
I mentioned the 4 attacks. It happens that in the 4 cases, the people who committed these murders were barbarian, middle-aged fanatics, were educated not by the press, not by the television, not even by the mosque, but by internet. They receive their messages who bring them to fanatism through Facebook, Twitter, Google. And we are very worried by the fact that there is no limit to the hatred messages that they are delivering. And we have taken the initiative of publishing in the New York Times tomorrow or Wednesday a full page, an ad, asking the American people to convince the providers of the social networks in America to take the responsibility that they share by helping people, fanatics, to deliver messages of hate and to become murderers. So there is a huge responsibility in the hands of the providers of internet, and this responsibility brings people to kill other people, and they are an important player in the world war which we are presently confronted to.
I'm pleased that so many people are here for this lunch to hear that message. The French government, how prepared is it to deal with the threat of radical Islam, but also the return of radical Islamists coming back to France?
You know, I have the reputation of being very critical to the French government. I was president of the CRIF from 2001 to 2007, and I had many opportunities to confront the French government. I must say that this government, although it's not popular in France, is extremely sympathetic to our cause. I mentioned the fact that the Prime Minister said that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. The President Hollande said a few days ago that it's not the Jews who should leave France, it's the anti-Semites. And another point, France is the only country to be extremely reluctant to go to an agreement with Iran, which would not be a satisfactory agreement.
I want to follow up on that, which is, we heard stories about your recent conversation with French government officials, about France's role in the P5+1 negotiations, about the nature of a good deal versus a bad deal. I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about those conversations.
Well, we have frequently conversation with the President and also with the Foreign Minister of France, Laurent Fabius, and they stick to the idea that the Western world in this negotiation with Iran should stick to a tough position, because the risk of proliferation is a major risk not only for France, for America, but for the whole world, because if Iran gets a nuclear power, then there are many other countries which will get for it, like Egypt, like Algiers, like Saudi Arabia. All the Arab countries will not admit that the Sunnis, the Shiites, would have the nuclear power and not the Sunnis.
And do you believe that the French government is taking an active role in trying to push for the toughest deal possible?
Until now, they were really very tough in all the negotiations, and the last negotiation, they were the ones who broke the agreement, which was very close to be achieved, and obtained that it would be proposed to the present negotiation.
Thank you. We hear a lot, we read about, we see what we think is what life is like for the Jews of France. And I'm wondering in this last question if you could just give us a minute about what it is like to be Jewish in France today.
Well, it's not easy, because Jews have lived in France for 2,000 years. They have had the French nationality since 1791, at the time of the Revolution. And even before 1,000 years ago, at the time of the Crusades, Rashi, the famous Talmudist, was living in the city of Troyes, exercising the profession of vineyard, of producing wine, which is a typical French activity. And he was also an expert in the French old language. And that was 1,000 years ago. And today we have reached a situation where our synagogues and our schools, Jewish schools, have to be protected by police and even by the army. And why? Because in public schools, the word Jew has become an insult. And as a result, most of the Jewish children are not going anymore to public schools. They go to either Jewish schools or to Christian schools. And another fact is that you cannot go in the subway with a kippah. It's dangerous. We have a percentage of the French population which is from Muslim origin, and among them, in the suburbs, there are minorities of that minority who are impressed by ideas against the Jews, which have been generated for centuries and centuries. And the situation is such that many Jews are leaving the country. There were 2,000 only in 2012, it went to 3,000 in 2013, to 7,000 in 2014, and we expect a new increase. This is only to Israel, and other people go to America, to Canada, or to Australia. So I think that the French Jewish population will decrease substantially due to this atmosphere. We are lucky to have a very friendly government, but unfortunately, the whole nation is not alongside this government.
On behalf of this audience, I want to tell you that this community will stand with you, and we'll find more ways to stand with you, and know that we care deeply about what happens in France and to the Jews of France. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
My friends,